are now listening to the War Report Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast. I'm Dylan. Are you watching on Twitter? Talking the latest in Auburn athletics news as it is post-signing day now. Sorry we didn't have an episode go up on Thursday. Had a very, very, very busy week outside of signing day, but we're going to spend a couple of seconds recapping it because I believe at this point it is kind of old news that Auburn had a successful signing day, in my opinion. Auburn started off the day in the 90s and rounded out right now at 41, but of course there are other signing periods where Auburn can try to clean up any positions of need they have. Of course, finished out with 3 4-stars, no 5-stars in this class, but he got quite a few flips that I think will kind of work towards what Alex Golesh is looking for in his Auburn regime. Of course, I think it lines up with Jaquez Wilkes, absolutely phenomenal linebacker. I can expect to see a lot of him in year one, especially him and Shadarius Tootle. Defense was a big part of this class, and defense was touched on throughout every aspect of it, and especially offensively, you did get a lot of linemen. But again, this class, for what it's worth, was a success in the sense of you were able to pick up the ashes and build something with it. So in that regard, I mean, is it the best Auburn class? No, it's number 41. I think it's like 14th or 15th in the SEC, but it's a nice starting point as we get into the portal season, which of course Auburn already has had 6 total players announce their intentions to enter the portal once that portal cycle opens up. And I'll go through those 6 in just a second. But overall, just signing day synopsis here. I think Auburn did a good job of picking up the pieces and making a kind of puzzle out of it. And again, I think you got a lot of stars out of this class that are going to make instant impacts. I mean, again, I'm looking at those top 3 guys. DJ Durkin being back and retained on the staff, I think goes very much into what you want to do in year one of the Golesh, and just kind of make sure your defense is up to code. You're just backing up what this defense was last year. You're adding more fuel to the fire, and offensively, it is the worry spot for me right now. I think when it comes to the transfer portal, which is going to take place, I think January 2nd is when the first, the day of the cycle starts up against the 10-day cycle. It's going to be insane. It is going to be absolutely insane. I don't know how the contact rules work exactly. I'd have to go and see. I don't trust the NCAA to do anything right. So, it'd be interesting to see. I don't imagine whatever happens during the first portal cycle, I don't think is going to, or the only portal cycle, it's not going to be the same thing next year. I'm going to go ahead and just put that out there. I think that they're going to try to make it shorter, or they're going to try to limit the amount of transfers that can leave, or something along those lines. It's going to be crazy this year, especially with that 10-day cycle. Of course, if you're able to contact early, whole other thing. But of course, I mean, even Durkin mentioned earlier this season the fact that people were already trying to talk to Auburn players in the middle of the season. So the portal is going to be absolutely insane. But ultimately, what Auburn has to do here is you are constantly recruiting your own roster. No matter if it's the off season, during the season, week 1 of the season, you're in the playoffs or in the championship, no matter where you are in the season, you are constantly recruiting players to stay on your roster. And looking at Auburn's roster, there's a lot of talent offensively and defensively that Auburn needs to really work hard to keep. I trust Durkin to take care of his side of the ball. I think there's a lot of those guys are fully determined to stick by Durkin, and I think for the most part, the defensive staff is going to remain the same. But of course, there's also that inkling in your brain. You have to let the coach make his staff. If the head coach can't make his staff, then you're setting him up for failure right away. But I know Golesh is fully in control of the offensive staff. No guy is safe. I think that the staff isn't completely done. Of course, there's been some names kind of name dropped and thrown around all over the place. But for the most part, it's kind of filling up in the right way. But these players, they're not going to be. It's gotten to the point. So I can't really say too much because I'm not that old, but I can recall a time when players were committing to a school for the school. But we live in an era, the NIL era, and with all these big name coaches, people are committing to the coach. They're committing to a position coach. They're committing to a relative that's now on the roster. They're committing not to the school. They are not loyal to the school. They are loyal to their coaches to an extent, at the bare minimum. And that's what we're seeing offensively in my brain. And, Auburn's already gotten 6 guys right now who have announced that they will be entering the transfer portal. And those guys are, of course, Damari Alston, that happened earlier in the season. So we already know that was going to happen. Rayon Strader, defensively, he transferred it from Miami, Ohio, had a great season last year for the Red Hawks, and transferred in. And we talked about him a lot. He was going to be a guy who was going to kind of add some great depth to the secondary. Didn't really get to see too much of him. So entering the portal, going to go find a place where he can really light it up as a starter. Antonio Coleman, a 4-star D lineman from this last class, the 2025 class, didn't really see the field too much. So entering the portal, I would assume for playing time, because Vontrell King Williams is going to stay on the staff, which again, big time retention there. Caleb Wheatland has announced his intentions of entering the transfer portal. Caleb Wheatland, again, transferred in from Maryland. And, he didn't really play too much. I think Xavier Atkins really kind of stole the show for the linebackers. And, even when the injury started piling up at linebacker, didn't really get to see a whole lot of Caleb Wheatland. So going off to his, I believe, his 6th year of eligibility, and he's going to be able to finish out his career somewhere else. The big names for this class, for this transfer out class for Auburn right now, is, of course, Perry Thompson. Perry Thompson is already, and this is something I saw coming a mile away, strictly because, if you follow these athletes on social media, Perry Thompson spent some time getting some highlights of his, whether it be from practice or a game, and posted them on TikTok. And what that can essentially tell you is he's trying to sell himself to the next team. He's trying to promote, hey, this is what I can do. Auburn wasn't letting me do it, so I'm going off to ball out somewhere else. Perry Thompson has always been one of my favorite players to kind of to talk about. I've always been talking about how we can always expect a breakout from him at some point, somewhere in any kind of game, whether it be because of injuries or maybe he had a good practice that week. Perry Thompson just was never given an opportunity at Auburn, and he's already announced he's going to be transferring out. And then the last person I've seen, and I think this is kind of rounds out that, Jackson Arnold has announced that he'll be transferring out as well, which no shocker there. He was not going to be a starter next year for Auburn. He was not going to be in the race for it. So better off just trying to go find a job somewhere else. But when it comes to this current roster now, these 6 guys aside, I don't think Golesh is going to spend any time trying to talk these 6 guys into staying. But there are a bunch of other guys who I am scared of losing. And again, it's something I always were talking about. I was like, why would you retain a roster that loses? Why would you try to retain a roster that can't win, finds ways to lose? Let the coach get his staff. Here's the thing. A lot of these players on Auburn's current roster, if they were somewhere else entering the portal, Auburn would be on a short list of teams that, not a short list, but a long list of teams. They're going to be trying to get these guys to transfer from somewhere else back to them. So I look at guys like Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman, to me, is priority number 1 for the offense. Cam Coleman has to, Golesh, wide receiver coach, on to victory. Those are the 3 people that should be talking to Cam Coleman. And again, I don't know if Marcus Davis will be staying on the roster. I can at least hope so. He's still listed on the football staff page. And again, Marcus Davis, he's one of the only offensive coaches where I'm sitting there and I'm like, please let him stay. To recruit back this wide receiver room for the most part, you got to keep Marcus Davis. And Golesh keeps Marcus Davis around big time. I think Cody Burns even adds to that a lot as well. But Cam Coleman has to be someone that Auburn works their absolute butt off to retain. And there's a gap, but not a big gap to priority number 2. Priority number 2 to me is Malcolm Simmons. I think Malcolm Simmons adds so much to this wide receiver room and to this offense that, he is a great 1-2 punch. He was a great 1-2 punch later in like the Iron Bowl and in these other games. Malcolm Simmons is an X-factor wide receiver. And again, these 2 guys are going to the NFL next year. I can guarantee you, if these 2 have the same season, or probably even better seasons than they had this past year, these 2 are going in the NFL next year, and they're both going to be picked up within the first 3 rounds. And again, those 2 are 1 and 2 to me. And the number 3 on that is Deuce Knight. Deuce Knight's been the primary point of conversation I've seen when it comes to retaining players on the team. Because, dude, Deuce Knight showed so much in that Mercer game. And again, I understand it's Mercer. We all understand it's Mercer. They're an FCS opponent. But regardless, this is a true freshman that stepped up in his first start, scored 6 touchdowns, 4 on the ground, 2 in the air, and balled out. And he's got a lot of talent. He has everything that Golesh would look for in a quarterback. And, I mean, dude, Hendon Hooker was able to let it fly and then also make a couple of guys miss. Byron Brown was doing it last year with USF. So, and again, I understand the Byron Brown conversation. Again, I can expect to see Auburn talk to Byron Brown once he enters. I imagine he will enter the portal. Again, speculation. But if it comes down between Deuce Knight or Byron Brown, I would hope that it would go towards Deuce Knight. Because Deuce, again, true freshman, kept his red shirt. Only appeared in 2 games. He has his red shirt. That's 4 years of eligibility that you have with Deuce Knight. Byron Brown, if he transfers to Auburn, got 1 year out of him. And again, I don't know where Ashton Daniels stands in all this right now. I mean, I think that with if Dirk would have been the head coach, it would have been a completely different conversation we're having right now about quarterback situations. I'd imagine a lot of the staff that that is here that was there would have been there again for the most part. But again, none of these offensive players have loyalties to a new staff coming in, unless they keep a couple of the coaches. But I mean, Jake Thornton, go ahead and get him out of there. Ben Agomawa, get him out of there. But again, I think it speaks volumes that Marcus Davis is still on the staff directory. So we'll kind of see. And again, expecting to see, I would hope this week you'd see the full staff complete. But Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, and Deuce Knight need to be on your retention board right now. Those are the guys. I'd put Jeremiah Cobb in that as well. Those guys have to be involved in this offense, and it's going to be up to you to really try to build around those pieces and try to make sure that your team is built to win next year, built to compete, or built to make a bowl game. 6 games at the least. Come on. And again, I hate that it's becoming a thing where, Auburn is like lowering standards for how many wins can get a coach to stay. And again, I think 6 wins in year 1 would be big time. But I mean, this schedule next year is such a it's so tough. It is ridiculous. Auburn has LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida and Tennessee in the same schedule. It's going to be ridiculous. But again, I think those 4 guys are my top 4 retention wise. Offensively, I trust Durkin to get back his guys that he knows are going to ball out for his defense again. Offensively, though, I mean, I think Connor Lou's going to the draft. I think that's been all but him just coming out and saying it. We already know Keldrick on the other side. All these seniors are going off to the NFL. I don't know the status of Eric Singleton. I think it would be interesting to see exactly what his plans are. whether it be the portal or the draft. I think he can't enter the draft this season. Again, he was a guy that a lot of scouts were looking at this year. And the rest of the wide receiver room. I mean, Sam Turner is putting his highlights on TikTok. So what that means for one of Auburn's top wide receiver commits coming in from last year. It'll be very interesting what happens to these true freshmen. Or what their plans are offensively, the offensive freshmen. But again, I think that Auburn is in for yet another stressful portal cycle, and I think it's going to be a lot of just wondering who is going to come back and who is going to get out. And let's see, we can Slink, see your comment. Players are going to leave and some will stay. It is what it is, but this has to happen. Auburn has had 5 straight losing seasons. This is a cultural upheaval and is necessary. I can see that point of view. And again, I'm not saying Auburn needs to keep every player from this past these last few seasons on the roster. You know, there are going to be a lot of guys where Golesh is going to be like, hey, you know, we have this scheme. I don't see you really fitting in the scheme. So it'd probably be in your best interest to try to find, you know, to transfer out. I can understand that. And again, it's just like a point of view. I mean, there's a short list of players that I would imagine Auburn would go above and beyond to make sure they are staying on the roster. Those guys who can work in any scheme, who are going to ball out regardless. And again, that's why I mentioned Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons. Like those 2 wide receivers right there, I think are the 2 biggest like guys that you need to keep. And again, Perry Thompson, you know, I wish him the best of luck. Again, I wish every Auburn player the best of luck whenever they transfer out. Unless you go to Alabama or Georgia, then, you know, the good luck does not stay. I hope you lose every game. You can ball out, but I just hope you lose every game. But I can see that point as well, because, you know, you have to start building something up. You have to turn this around. Auburn has had 2 bad coaches in a row that, you know, one did a decent job of getting like the best out of his players at times, but in game was terrible. And Hugh Freeze didn't do anything in game correctly, but he did recruit very well. And if Golesh can, you know, recruit his guys like he wants to, and again, there are a lot of people that are going to be upset about the kind of talent he's going to be bringing in. You know, he's going to go after a lot of USF guys if and when they enter the portal. Which makes sense. I mean, USF was a good team this past year. He is getting the best out of their players. And, you know, you look at their schedule and you're like, oh, well, you know, they played against, you know, Memphis and they lost, and they played against like Tulane and all these other teams. This is a team that he put together with a bunch of 3 stars, maybe a couple 4 stars, and some portal guys. And he turned it into a team that went into the swamp and beat Florida. And I don't care how bad you think Florida was this year. No G5 team is just walking into the swamp and taking it over like USF did. So, yeah, they might be a 3-star. But here's the thing. When it comes to recruiting and just those players in general, you know, there's not a big gap between a 3-star and a 5-star. There's really not. You know, some 3-stars are balling out, but they're not getting the national recognition because, you know, they're in a smaller town. They're somewhere else. They're, you know, just in a smaller division. And, you know, Jaquez Wilkes is a good example of a guy who, you know, is playing 1A football and is a 4-star because of how dominant he is. And again, to me, I feel like a 4-star and a 5-star aren't that different. You know, again, they get the recognition of being a 5-star, but again, I feel like a lot of it is camps and just getting, you know, how you present yourself. You know, a 3-star lineman to me is not that far off from getting a 5-star lineman, because the linemen are more reserved, and you know, whenever they just get ranked, you know, they're whatever. I don't think. I think that people are holding on too much to the type of talent he was bringing at USF. And again, USF isn't recruiting the 4 and 5 stars like Auburn is, or Alabama, or Georgia, or Florida State. You know, they stay in their realm. You know, a 3-star to USF, you know, you can easily give him the, you know, you're going to play right away. We've seen what you do. We've seen what you've done. We don't care what your star rating is. We know you're better than what they're ranking you as. So that's why we're going to offer you a scholarship, and you're going to play right away as soon as you walk onto campus. And that's the bread and butter of recruiting a G5. You know, you have that opportunity to say, hey, you're a 3-star, you're going to start right away. So 3-stars aren't looking to just walk on or looking to be a bench warmer and just kind of sit and wait for 3 or 4 years to finally get a look. They're going to take that route. And if they ball out, you know, they're going to get picked up in the portal. And again, that's something that, you know, college football is changing, and it might be for the worse. It could be for the better. No one really knows yet. We're entering a dense fog around college football. I mean, don't even get me started on the 12-team playoff. People wanted to expand it. I think that 12 is too many. To me, I think 8 is the perfect amount. And again, we just saw how stupid it is to have 12 teams. But I think that we'll kind of see this as it's going to mellow out at some point. We're just in the early stages of it. But Golesh was doing a good job of getting the most out of his players. Golesh was doing a good job of making USF a competitive football team. They were 1-11 2 years ago, entering his first season. They were 1-11 when they hired him. And then he went around 4 years ago. They went 1-11. Then he went 7-6. That's a massive improvement. He went 7-6 again the next year, but they won 2 bowl games in a row. That's big time for USF. He was the first coach to ever do that in the program. And they turned around this year and he won 9 games, 10 games, one of the two. And, you know, that's a great season. And he did that with the talent that people are upset about Auburn recruiting. About Auburn, settling for. You know, a 3-star isn't going to get the name recognition that a 5-star does, but you don't build your rosters by only getting 5 stars. You don't build your rosters by only getting 4 stars. You can't do that. You build your roster with those guys who aren't getting recognized as well. Again, those 3 stars are going to ball out. Those 4 stars are going to ball out. You're going to have some misses. That's the point of recruiting. It's a big game of poker, really. It's a hit or miss thing. And again, I guess poker or blackjack. You're gonna have some busts, and you're gonna have a lot that hit. You just got to be patient. And again, I think that this class is going to be the worst ranking wise out of in the Golesh era. And again, he only had 3-4 days to keep these guys around. Of course, Chase Matthews isn't going to stay committed. You know, it's going to happen. And again, what also happens is, hiring. I think someone said I saw someone say that they're like his cousin Dante Moncrief, who's a pretty decent wide receiver in the NFL, got promoted to wide receiver coach. So that's football. Football's all politics, anyways. Football's all politics. But I do think that for the most part, the guys that Golesh really wants to keep, I think Auburn can work it out and keep those guys around. Right now, I understand Cam Coleman is probably getting a DM, an email, a phone call, a text message, a TikTok message, whatever. He's probably getting all these messages from other college football coaches. Whether that's legal or not, no one's going to know. They're going to care. The NCAA isn't going to batten down the hatches or anything. We just saw what they did to a guy actually cheating this past season. But I want to fully believe. I want to keep out the hope that Cam Coleman understands that he is right now, in my opinion at least, the best wide receiver in Auburn football history. Again, that might be recency bias, but if you watch Cam Coleman play, dude, they're a blank check onto victory, a blank check to Cam Coleman. It's like whatever they're offering you over there, we'll match it and even go up however much. And again, that's the new era of college football. It's no longer, just like recruiting and whatnot. It's all about, it's just, free agency is all it is. Whenever you have a coach that changes, you're going to have guys that are going to want out of their contract. Again, I feel like at some point they're going to go into that. I feel like at some point you're going to have, players when they sign on the dotted line, the letter of intent, they're signing for at bare minimum 2 seasons on a team before the end of the portal. And at some point, the NCAA has to address the fact that you have, what was it last year, 1,000 total athletes entering the transfer portal just for football. At some point, that's got to be addressed. There has to be some kind of cap limit on the amount of times you can transfer. There's got to be some like cap limit on the amount of players that can transfer, or just something. I understand that you should have a way of being able to pick and choose. If your coach leaves, different story. But again, I just think it just gets too crazy too fast with the portal. But I trust Golesh to get the best out of his guys, no matter what the roster looks like. If it doesn't look like an Auburn roster to you, I mean, dude, I've seen Gus Malzahn win an SEC championship with a cornerback at quarterback. So it's possible, as long as you have a coach that can get the best out of it, get the best out of his dudes. You have a coach who has turned a bunch of 3-star recruits into guys who are playing like those 4- and 5-star recruits that you're upset that they didn't sign during the cycle. So I do think Golesh was a great hire. And again, that's something that I think a lot of people were kind of ignoring. He said, Auburn. Well, that was stupid of me. I just accidentally clicked a button on my mouse. Apologize about that. But I think that what people were ignoring is, you hired a coach the day after the Iron Bowl. Well, the Wednesday after the Iron Bowl was signing day. That's not a lot of time. You saw what Auburn should have done, and what they could have done is when you fired Hugh Freeze, whether you did it late or you did it early or you did it right when you should have, besides the point. But Virginia Tech had it right. They hired their coach midseason. I think you're going to see a lot more of this as it progresses on in the college football era now of what it is. You're going to hire a coach midseason, and you're going to send that coach on recruiting visits. You're going to be sending that coach around, and that's what Auburn should have done. And again, I understand that a lot of coaches aren't going to want to go out with that. And again, it was different because James Franklin was fired. But at some point, you're going to start announcing these hires a lot earlier than you are. And again, I understand midseason, you don't want to know the rat poison of it and all that jazz. But regardless, I mean, it was gonna happen. But I saw a coach in 3 days turn a recruiting class that was ranked 98th in the country to a recruiting class that was 41st in the country. To me, that's big time. That is a guy who knows how to talk to these kids. And yeah, he's been a recruiting coordinator for however many years of his college football career. I mean, he spent a lot of time recruiting. He understands what to say. And again, he understands that he has to win to get the favor of, and again, I understand, being a little doubtful going into this year. And again, I see the questions in the comments. I'll get to them in a second. But he understands what it means for Auburn to be back. He said in his press conference, college football is just better when Auburn's good. And again, Auburn fans will agree with you on that. Auburn football is a whole lot more fun when Auburn is good. But he's going to need the time. And again, whether Brian Harsin was given the right amount of time, whether Hugh Freeze was given the amount of time he needed, that's opinionated. Which, I mean, Hugh Freeze's time, he did say how much time he needed. He said 3 recruiting classes and he'll start winning and competing, and it wasn't happening. But there have been fast turnarounds, and we saw that happen with USF when Golesh got there. He turned a 1-11 to a 7-6. That's big. I don't know how big of a turnaround he gets in year 1 here at Auburn. It's a lot harder to win here than it is to win at USF. And again, with these players that we don't know the future of right now, the portal cycle, it'll be what you make it. if we sit here on January 2nd and we start stressing because 15 players enter the portal on the first day, and we start stressing about that, then we're setting ourselves up to be extremely stressed out and depressed during football season. I expect Golesh to recruit the portal extremely hard. And again, quarterback will be position of need just to get depth. If you can keep Deuce Knight, I think you go into year one under Golesh, and Deuce Knight is your projected starter. And again, I don't know what that means for Ashton Daniels going forward, but you would need guys to get behind him. You did pick up a quarterback in this class. I don't imagine he'll be in the race for the starting job. I would imagine running back, just getting a guy. I don't know if DeVarrell Robinson plans on staying or not, or however many of these guys. Wide receiver, you're gonna have to recruit a lot of talent. Tight end, all the tight ends. And what you want to do is whenever they're in the portal and they want to come on the visit, go get a jug machine, and you give them a scholarship the second they catch 10 passes in a row, or however many we need to go up to. Because tight end was such a bad spot for Auburn this year. I will say, talking about other players I think might be who might be entering the portal. I think Towns Magoo might be entering the portal soon. And I'm speculating just off of his recent posts on Twitter. I mean, he has been posting a lot of his kicks, his touchbacks and his practice kicks. But yeah, I expect the portal season to be extremely wild going into this one. So the weakest link, they will be keeping a good core of the returning roster, but there will be some players leaving, some for money or better situations, and others will be told to leave that don't fit. Yeah, that's how college football is nowadays. We're gonna go G27. What are your thoughts on the next season? I think it's too early to give way too early looks at those. I'd have to wait till the transfer portal class comes in before I give any of those. I need a better picture of what the roster and the staff looks like. I can't say I expect improvement yet. I just need to see what the roster looks like going into it. 5 stars are rarely in. Some, but 4 to 1 stars can get overlooked. Just like Ashton Daniels, he was a 1 or something. I think Ashton Daniels was either a 3 or a 4, just based off of what he's because he was a great quarterback at Buford. And he said he wanted to play in the SEC, but nobody looked at him until Auburn. He did want to play for Georgia. He was a Georgia fan growing up, just being from the Buford, Atlanta area, or wherever Buford is. I'm not from Georgia, so I can't tell you exactly where Buford is. But I do know he was a Georgia fan. He wanted to go to Georgia. Stanford got him, and then came to Auburn because Auburn needed to Hugh a backup quarterback. But to us, we all know that he was actually the better quarterback out of the two. Found him at Stanford. Hummer 99, 999. Who's being retained? Right now, there are 6 guys who are out, who have already announced their intentions to enter the portal. Buford's where the Mall of Georgia is. See, that's the thing about me not being from Georgia. I also don't know where the Mall of Georgia is. So retention right now, I mean, I can go and tell you, I think Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons, and Deuce Knight are probably 1, 2, and 3 on the coaches' list to keep. It'd be hard for me not to see. I mean, I understand Golesh runs a veer and shoot. It's hard for me to see him saying Deuce isn't like fitting his scheme. I think Deuce fits a lot of what like Hendon Hooker and Byron Brown did for his offense, and I probably pull up a lot of other guys that he coached in his scheme. But I think Deuce should. And again, I see your comment. Deuce is probably entering. He removed Auburn stuff on his page, and I understand that point. But also there, I mentioned like watching players post their highlights on social media. Deuce has done that once or twice already, where he's just kind of deleted everything. It's something a lot of athletes do is they delete everything, and then it just makes it easier to kind of refresh their pages. I will say Deuce has been talking a lot on I always get worried when I see players like post or share stories of guys in the portal, but I think a lot of it is, just kind of put like that's your boy. So you're you're just helping them out. But again, I think that I would hope that On to Victory can do a lot with Deuce Knight. And again, Cam Coleman, Malcolm, I'd even put Jeremiah into that list as well. Are guys you have to retain going into the cycle. I mean, you start with those 4, and you get those 4 locked down, and then you can start getting the guys that you think will do well. I would say a lot of linemen as well. You need to get those guys locked down, and then you just go crazy in the portal for the positions, kind of fill it out. We're going to G27, get a tight end that will be more playable than dropping passes and limited missed blocking assignments. Yeah, Preston Howard was bad this season. It was just bad. But I completely agree. I don't know which tight ends have entered the portal yet. Again, you're not going to get the full list of players who have entered the portal yet. Again, when the portal opens up on January 2nd, we'll get a better list of them, and these recruiting sites will have a better chance to go through and kind of get a better look at guys that are going to be leaving their original teams. I do see a lot of Illinois players, which I think is crazy. Some North Carolina players on this list. A lot of North Carolina guys, actually. Dang. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see and again, these are all guys that are expected in the portal. They've not entered the portal yet because it's not open yet. Yeah, getting a tight end is big time. Coleman, Knight, Lou, Cobb, and Simmons. That Coach Knight should try to get those guys returned. I completely agree there. The list I'm referring to is I'm on 3. I think to me, I always look at on 3 when it comes to transfer. I think their formatting works a lot better. So I always check on 3 for the transport. I think they do a real good job of kind of tracking those guys. But I'm just gonna have that in front of me, as always. So I think we're gonna, especially since the playoffs have been announced now and the bowl games and teams are like omitting themselves from the bowl games. Notre Dame just did that. Iowa State did it. Auburn's already said they're not going to play in the bowl game if they get invited, which I'm not really for. I think Auburn, if Auburn gets a chance to go to a bowl game, go. And understand your staff isn't complete. And again, I've seen that there have been a lot of teams that have, brought out a coach to go through those bowl practices. That's 12 practices right there. It's 12 practices you get with a roster. And if you want to retain a lot of these guys, go to a bowl game and get those 12 practices and let this team see how you coach. And again, they're not going to learn a whole new scheme. You might have to simplify a lot of it, but they just to see how you coach and what you want to do with the team. We'll do numbers. And again, maybe those 12 practices, you could teach a couple, like a page of your playbook. And we'll see how they kind of work in. I'm not really for Auburn turning down the bowl game. I think a bowl game, again, like the Birmingham Bowl would be awesome, in my opinion. I would go to the Birmingham Bowl if Auburn played in it. And I just don't think that – I don't say it's not the smartest thing in the world to do. I understand why they don't accept the bowl invitation, just because it'd be, it would just be hectic. But regardless, I mean, just those practices and getting a chance to kind of coach up these guys will give you an opportunity, and you can see more what you got. You can see what you have on your roster right now before that portal cycle opens up, and you can really let some guys ball out for you, and you can give them a better opportunity to, make an impact for you and show that they're next for you. Who's going to be Auburn quarterback? Who's going to be Auburn starting quarterback next season? Byron Brown. It's too early to call for me. Byron Brown's not entered the portal yet. I think if Auburn is serious about keeping Deuce Knight, which I don't know if they are or not, just because Golesh has to get his guys in here. I would love it for it to be Deuce Knight, though. But if Deuce is going to enter the portal, I think Byron Brown is a great one-year guy. And again, Byron Brown is a phenomenal quarterback. 3,000 yards passing, 1,000 yards rushing. What the 13th quarterback to do that ever in college football. We couldn't go wrong with it. And again, you just spend next year really trying to, recruit the state of Alabama, find your next guy, and really turn things around the next season. And again, I would just love this upcoming year, I would really just like to see Auburn in a bowl game that they earned without having to get invited because they went 5-7. But again, if Byron Brown would be number 2, unless Ashton Daniels if Ashton Daniels is planning on staying, then again, I'd probably flip it to Ashton Daniels. And again, this portal cycle is just filled with so many uncertainties of what's going on. So if Byron Brown is on that list, I would probably say if Auburn can't keep either one of the 2 quarterbacks, Byron Brown, I think is a great replacement for those guys if he enters the portal and transfers to Auburn. But Deuce, I want it to be Deuce so bad. And again, I love Ashton Daniels to death. And if he stays and Deuce is good with it, then let Ashton kind of run it out. But yeah, Deuce, I think, is kind of the favorite for a lot of people right now. I think a lot of people, I've seen a lot more people say they'd rather have Deuce start than Byron Brown, which I agree with. You spend a lot more time building to the future with Deuce. Whether or not he's your quarterback or not, whether or not you recruited him or not, I think the talent that he possesses is enough for you to be like, let's get a move on here. I was like, what in the world? That Alabama got the nod in after what happened in the championship game. At some point, conference championships have to matter. At this point, what stops the team from getting a chance to play as SEC championship game, and understanding that for the most part, if you lose, you're going to get kicked out. And yeah, this is something BYU could have omitted themselves from the Big 12 championship game, and they would have been in the playoffs. You punished a team for losing one in BYU. You punished a team for not having one in Notre Dame, and you rewarded a team that lost by 21 points. So again, I have a whole lot of opinions about Alabama getting a playoff spot. And again, a lot of it, I don't like Alabama. I'm an Auburn fan. Been an Auburn fan my whole life. But a lot of my opinions stray from the fact that I think college football has just gotten so corrupt when it comes to a lot of things. I mean, they posted a graphic this past week of viewership, and Alabama is like the most viewed team in the sport. So, how much of it is just straight up money and revenue? How much money can we make off of letting Oklahoma get another chance in Alabama? Try to see if they can beat them 2 times in a row. I don't like the 12-team playoff. I think it's, I didn't watch the first round last year. I waited till the second round. I thought it was more enjoyable the second time around. I just don't understand why why you reward teams for losing it, but you also even punishing them. I remember 2017. It's been talked about a lot. Auburn lost its SEC championship game in the 14 playoff era, dropped from 3 to 9. Then Bama jumped in for not making the SEC championship game. And it's stupid to me because you're putting in this mindset that the championship games don't matter unless you're a non-SEC team. Because this team loses their conference championship and they get kicked out of the playoffs. But this team, because they're SEC, they lose it, but they're like, okay, well, they played a tough conference, so, who cares? Bama lost 3 games. And I understand, Alabama lost in week 1 by 14 points. Notre Dame lost week 1 and week 2, started off 0-2 by a combined 4 points. That 4 points in those 2 losses was less than what Alabama lost to in week 1. And Notre Dame didn't lose the rest of the season. Schedule aside, and again, I don't understand. You play to win the games. You put these schedules out 2 years in advance. You know who you are playing 2 years in advance. I cannot tell you what Florida looks like 2 years in advance. I can't tell you who Auburn play this year. I can't tell you what Missouri's going to look like in 2 years. So, and Auburn can't change that schedule. And again, I understand they're independent. They can make whatever adjustments they do. They have set schedules, though. And you're punishing a team for a schedule they made in 2021, 2022, 2023. They won the games. They went 10-2 this year. They lost 2 games, week 1, week 2. Alabama lost 3 games in week 1, and then they lost the other 2 in the last 4 weeks. They lost 2 games this season by double-digit points, and you reward them for it. I can't stand it. It annoys me to my core to just see what has happened in the past and what keeps happening in the future. I hate it. Where was I at? I went into a large role there. In order to make a bowl game is that you must have players and staff in place. Auburn said if they get invited, they're going to try it out. So I don't imagine. I mean, there are a lot of teams that go out there, and I say this coming down here. The players are scattered, not possible to make a bowl game work at this point. Understandable. But again, I think it'd be great. Teresa, how do you get them ready when you don't even know who's staying or going? Golesh said every minute for this next 6 months is planned out. I was with you before I heard that. Where can he find time? I can rock with that. Again, I did like that he had that itinerary planned out for the next couple months. Again, after January, we're going to have a very good idea of what the team looks like, staff and roster wise. And that'll be big. Pardon me, those 12 practices to me, if you can just muster up getting a roster together. And again, I think a lot of these guys are still around. And, I don't think Christmas break starts until next week anyways for a lot of colleges. Graduation is what most graduations are around this week. I would love to see Auburn get it'd be better time to get those guys retained, in my opinion. I understand what everyone's saying. The players scattered. And again, college football is just kind of all kind of messed up because a lot of teams, Notre Dame just declined their invitation. But yeah, to teach their own. Conservative Cowboy, exactly. I said the same thing about turning down a bowl game. Agree. He's got to retool both lines. I think D-line is okay. And again, I agree with this comment as well. Morris Williams definitely is it definitely needs to be a priority as well, because especially with you losing both Keyron and Keldrick, Morris is a priority. And I kind of center this more around the offense. I think with Dirk still being the defensive coordinator, I think the defense for the most part, starting wise and rotation wise, outside of the guys who were going to get drafted this year, should be the same. At least in my head canon, it should be, because all these guys were talking about the retention of Dirk and keeping Dirk around. And again, I think Morris Williams, I think he did enough this year to really prove that he is going to be a starter next year. Jared Smith, I think he balled out in the few plays that he got. He had a sack and a forced fumble in like a game. And again, Jordan Crawford as well. Malik Autry, Malik Lockton. I think the D-line itself should pretty much feel the same, just with different players. All these guys balled out. The secondary, I think, does need a lot of work. And in just terms of, who's going to be back. Is Kyan Lee going to the NFL draft? We don't know yet. I think he'll definitely be talking about that a lot. I think Kyan Lee did a lot of good this year. But I'm never against saying, I understand get the money, but I'm never against saying, one more year at Auburn wouldn't hurt. But yeah, defensively, I think Auburn should still be very good. I trust Dirk a lot, especially whenever he's not worried about what's going on the offensive side of the football. The defense was great all season long, outside of the transition point. That was the only real fatal flaw that we saw. But I expect the defense for the most part, just with some guys being starters and instead of being more rotation pieces than anything, I expect the defense to look a lot of the same. Offensively, though, it's going to look a lot different to me. And I think that Auburn, moving forward, should really hammer home with a lot of these guys that I mentioned earlier. I mean, again, Coleman, Simmons, Knight, Cobb are my 4 guys that I'm on to victory, do your thing, and keep these guys around. Offensive line wise, I mean, I think Connor Liu, and I mentioned earlier, I think Connor Liu is going to the NFL draft, injury or not. He has proved that he is one of the top centers in the SEC in the country. Jeremiah Wright is definitely going to be graduating. I think he's been here since COVID. And a few of the guys. I think Xavier Miller's a senior. Go on and get Xavier Chaplin out of here. Mason Murphy as well. I think they had some pretty bad seasons. There's a lot of depth at this offensive line, in this offensive line room that we didn't get a chance to see this year. And I would love to see who exactly Golesh brings as his O-line coach, unless he's already brought it in. Again, it's been so crazy these past week. Just kind of keeping up with all the staff changes. So I think, and I believe Golesh was the right hire. And again, it's something I've been saying for a long time now, ever since the firing of Hugh Freeze even became a rumor in the air. Golesh was always my guy that I went with. And I'm proud to say that is the case. Auburn hired him. And what you got to understand is it's going to take time. Again, I think Auburn made 2 very bad hires in back-to-back time, like hiring cycles, and these seasons have been an example of that. I think Golesh, he's going to build his roster. He's going to build his staff how he wants it. I expect a more improved scheme going into this year, because I've at least seen Golesh's scheme work at the SEC level more recently, where he produced a Heisman candidate quarterback in Hendon Hooker, who probably should have won the Heisman until he had that injury in like the last week of the season. But I think Golesh is going to turn Auburn around, whether that's a championship or whether that's just being able to win 8 games, 9 games, 10 games a season. We'll not know yet. But again, 10 wins gets you into the playoffs. And apparently, we don't know. Maybe next year 4 losses gets you in the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see next year. But yeah, I think the portal is going to be insane. And I'm bracing for impact as it approaches closer and closer. I observed Cowboy Booth, Cam, and Deuce stay, and Ryan was being looked at transfer portal, and Antonio Coleman entered the portal. Antonio Coleman did enter the portal. Ryan Williams, I don't know if they're going to let him enter the portal. I felt like it was a sophomore slump, really. But it'd be interesting to see. I don't imagine he'd come to Auburn. It'd be interesting. Perry Thompson, I do know for a fact that I think LSU has been talking to him. I say I know for a fact. I don't know for a fact. But I do think he's looking at LSU, which would be big for him. It's so weird that you can't even find the coaches on the website now, other than that Coach Golesh should try. I mean, Golesh is on there. They still have Durkin listed as interim head coach, and then they have a couple other guys listed on there, just not the full staff yet. And again, we don't know exactly where. They hired the cornerback coach from UCF or USF, and we don't know exactly what role he'll play on the staff, because I know he did want to bring in his guy there. And the players said they plan to enter the portal, but they can't physically enter the portal until January 2nd. Yet they can put in the paperwork, and it'll go out that day, and then they're officially in the portal. But right now, it's just kind of, a time for them to say that they're going to enter the portal. And I imagine it's for a communication period, whether it's that the team they're transferring from talking them out of it, or a team that they're interested in going to signing with. But again, I don't know the rules. The NCAA has completely messed up everything. So I think it made a lot more sense whenever the portal opened up as soon as the season ended. And I understand that gets even crazier, but it made it so much simpler to do that. So go back to that. I don't care if it gets crazy and we're spending the entire month of December talking about a portal. We're talking about a portal acquisition on December 13th, and we're also talking about one on December 30th. I don't think that matters too much. I don't understand what that's really affecting outside of the teams in the playoffs. But the teams that lost 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. They need that extra time to recruit those players. The portal is absolutely crazy. 15 days after the coach leaves, and they can't enter until January 2nd. Yeah. But again, I still think that I think basketball, I don't even know, man. They make it so crazy. Just you can't just change the rule. The rules change every season, and it gets harder and harder to follow. The NCAA has to do something. Whether it's making it simpler, opening it back up like it was last year. It was a lot easier to follow when it was more hectic to them last year, when people could just enter the portal whenever at the end of the season. I just don't get it. I don't understand it in the slightest. Hunted breed. I feel like Hugh Freeze hire really set this place back. I remember thinking, man, what a mistake that is. I mean, that's going to be the case here. Auburn fans are going to constantly looking back at the last 2 head coaches and wondering what could have been. But yeah, again, as I always say, I'll go ahead and kind of close it out here. I wish everybody who's transferred out of Auburn the best of luck, unless you go to Alabama or Georgia. That's what I always say. Perry Thompson is going to ball out wherever he goes, whether he stays in the SEC, as long as it's Alabama or Georgia, he's going to ball out wherever he goes. I think Jackson Arnold is going to find a nice place that will use him correctly. I did not appreciate the Hugh Freeze comment he made in the interview about Jackson Arnold. I think that was kind of a low blow for a coach to make. It's one thing if a fan says it or a podcaster says it, but when your coach is saying it and he's blaming, it sounded like he was blaming Arnold for the season. That's okay. That's kind of a low blow, man. And again, whenever you're calling the plays, was Arnold great this year? No. Did he have an opportunity? Did he have opportunities to be great and kind of was flustered by it? Yeah. But again, a coach cannot sit there and say, "Oh, this is why I was fired." No, you got to be a grown up at that. Yeah, Hugh Freeze definitely aged like milk because I thought it was a great hire whenever Auburn made it. I saw what he did at Ole Miss, and I think that's what a lot of his did was bank off what he did at Ole Miss. And man, oh man, did it not end up well. We gave him 3 years. He asked for 3 years. We gave him 3 years. Didn't win a lot of games. I just mentioned that conservative Cowboy. Teresa, again, the rebuke to allow kids in the portal after a coach quits is if it's after the regular portal period like Saban did. These kids aren't hurt by waiting until January 2nd, not like they could transfer before. Yeah, I just feel like it's the 10 days is really what I'm kind of like concerned about, is just it being 10 days. Because I feel like that's a lot of time for a lot of these guys to try to – a lot of moving parts in just 10 days. Again, I think it's going to be crazy. I don't think it's going to work out too well just for college football. Again, it's constantly changing, and I understand why it's constantly changing. But again, at some point, you have to get some kind of consistency going. Well, we had a 4-team playoff for 12 seasons, and then we moved to 12 teams. And now after 2 seasons of the 12 teams, we're moving on to trying to get 16. And then people are trying to talk about 24 and all this crazy junk going on. College football, I love it to death. My favorite thing to watch is college football, but man, oh man, they need to they need to fix a lot of stuff. Outside of the "we were close" jokes, yeah, man, I can't stand the "we were close" stuff. That it gives me a twitch whenever I hear it. How can they transfer mid-season though when coach is fired in November? If you fire, they can. I mean, Damari Alston said he was going to enter the portal before then. I just feel like the cycle should open up a little. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a way to fix it, but it makes sense for it to open up after seasons end. A lot of teams are, their seasons are over right now. A lot more. I think it's a lot more teams their seasons are over than they are still going. So yeah, if it opened up a little earlier, and again, I like what you said, Teresa, there were like right after Christmas, that would work out better. Again, the 10-day cycle and having to, you get a month to kind of bring back your guys. But I mean, once the season ends, I feel like that's that should be win. And I mean, you'll have guys that will say they're going to sit out. That's what Damari did. Damari sat out and said he was going to enter the portal. That works out well. And again, if you intend to enter the portal, you should have a period where you get to talk to your coaches about, what can they do. I don't know. Teresa again, dude, I have spreadsheets on how to fix a playoff system, but no one care what I think. I think 8 teams, bring it down to 8 teams and it'll work. I worked him at the high school level before he went on to Lambeth. I always thought he wasn't on the right path to success, but I wouldn't know. LOL. Getting rid of Hugh Freeze is the best thing at the moment. I'm honestly surprised that no one's hired him yet. And it's not that I think that I don't think anyone on the P4 level will, but I definitely think a team like, I'm trying to think of someone just like who's fired a coach and is like looking around for one in the G4 level, G6 level, I think now, like a UMass or something along those lines. I'll be lit. Hey, we'll do away with the conference championship games soon, and they put in the playing games for playoffs. Oh, okay. I believe they will do away with the conference championship games soon and put in playing games for playoffs. I think that could be a possibility. I don't know how. Again, it'd be. College football. The playoff committee, I think, is so dumb at times. I don't think they don't watch. They've showed themselves watching this week. Like they'll sitting around in the conference table and they'll watch the conference championship games. But there's no proof of them watching anything else. I want to see the playoff committee sitting down week 1. I think you got the AP poll is so historic, man. Get rid of the AP poll. Get rid of the AP poll. Get rid of it. Get rid of the AP poll. It does not matter anymore because they're basing that first thing off the AP poll. Start doing the playoff poll week 1. In week 1, do the playoff poll. I want to see these playoff committees sitting around a conference table every Saturday, watching every game. I am tired of them only watching the conference championship games. It's the only one that proved they were watching. It's the only one they are sitting around. There's a camera on them watching those games. I want to see them actually watching week 1, watching week 2, 4, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 conference championships. Watching all of them. And I want to hear what they're saying. In the same instance, I want the SEC to start putting a camera in the broadcast, or not the broadcast booth, but the replay booth so I can hear what they're saying in that one. I want it to be proven to me that the people who are controlling the biggest postseason games of college football are actively making sure they are picking and choosing the best 12 teams. And again, I understand NFL does it, and a lot of teams do it where the conference championship matters a lot, and that should. I think you should go back to where it's the top 4 conference champions are the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds. That made more sense to me. But now it's just the top 4 teams. That makes no sense. Conference championship games should matter. They should matter. Week 1 games, if you were going to put a team in because of they made an SEC championship game, why are you not looking at the score of that game? The score of that game told me all I needed to know about Alabama. But you cannot do what you did last season where you had the top 4 teams. And I understand having the top, like, you have to incorporate, there's so many conferences, you have to incorporate them in some way, shape, or form. I liked it better when, pick, if you're going to have your hierarchy system. I agree with Josh Pate when it comes to having a G4, or not G4, I can say G4, a G6 playoff. I think that works out a lot better for them. Because, you would hate that they're having 2 national champions in one season, but in what world should you ever have JMU? And I love JMU. I love the Dukes. I love that they're getting opportunity here. I love Tulane. But at no point are they ever going to have a G5 team win the national championship. It's not going to happen. Have the American, CUSA, MAC, Pac-12, whatever they're going to look like next year, have their own playoff. And then you can bring back the conference champion. The P4 now works out so much better. You have an ACC champion, SEC, Big 12, Big 10. Those 4 champions get your top 4 seeds. And then you look at the whatever your parameters are that work and are indisputable, and you pick the rest of the best, or the best. You pick the best of the rest. And if it doesn't work out, go back to BCS, man. It was so much easier and so much better when it was just the top 2 teams. And I understand the likability of the playoffs. I understand. It's why March Madness works out so well, because at any given time, anyone can beat anyone. But that's how college football works. It very rarely works where a G team can beat a P team. It rarely happens, especially in the postseason and the playoffs like this. Cincinnati, was the closest one to do it. Boise got a top 4 spot. But man, I just don't like. I don't like the 12-team playoff. I've always been, since they announced the 12-team playoff, I've always been upset they skipped 8. I think 8 is where it should be at. 8 works out so much better. You have the 4 conference champions, and you have the 4 other best teams. I don't like it. I don't like it. FCS school should probably, or FCS could work out for him, for Hugh Freeze. Were they about Notre Dame being left out? I don't like Notre Dame being left out here. I think that they lost 2 games to playoff teams in week 1 and week 2 by a combined 4 points. And they won the next 10 games. Alabama loses 2 games in the last 4 weeks, and somehow, some way, they have a playoff spot. That brings up this point. They got their butt kicked in the SEC championship game, and they get rewarded. No. Quit letting TV ratings determine your picks. Money doesn't. The money college football makes doesn't affect me. I don't get paid. I don't get paid for the viewership of these games. So it makes me more upset that that's what they're picking them off of. It makes no sense. What about just do away with the committee and let the computer rankings select the playoff rankings? FPI. It still had Bama in the playoffs. So even then, there's not going to be a correct way to do it. There's not going to be a wrong way to do it. But there needs to be a set list of parameters. And I don't like it. It just feels like every year something is different about what they're using to go forward. I think at some point you have to understand that losing should matter. How does your strength of record with 3 losses higher than teams that have a strength of record of 2 losses? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think if you go into next season after you need to sit down and you need to publicize it out to everyone. Everyone needs to know what your parameters are. Instead of just picking and choosing based off a random thing for your 12th team or whoever your last team you picked is, I want to see your parameters. What are you going down the list saying? Are you saying conference champion number 1? Are you saying record number 1, conference champion number 2? I want to see a bulleted list of your parameters for picking a playoff. And I want to see you do a 12-team playoff with those parameters set before you even think about moving on to 16 teams. I want to see those parameters set. And then you do your 12-team playoff. And then if you get it right, then you can do whatever you want to do. It's such a joke that it's just off vibes. It's off vibes. Whatever we want to pick it off of, we'll pick it off this week. I hate it. I don't like it. It's so rigged at times. It feels like, and I just hate it. So, college football committee is a joke. They don't practice what they preach. Absolutely. You do playoff conference, and then they play the conference championship, and then you go to playoffs itself. Shoot, man. You could have your own mini playoff in the conference. Pick your 4 best teams in your conference, have those play. And again, at some point, it gets to the point where it's so crazy that you're endangering these kids' lives by letting them play so many games a season. I think less is more. I think less is so much more. The conference championship in and of itself, and again, I don't even understand how Alabama was in the conference championship. I don't understand how they were even in the game. That they lost 2 games. I don't understand how the head-to-head works exactly. They beat Georgia, and Georgia beat Texas. Texas beat Texas A&M. Those games were not near each other on the schedule. And you're not the same team in week 1 that you are in week 2 that you are in week 3. You're not. So banking a team off of that is absolutely ridiculous. I don't like it. It's so absolutely ridiculous. 14 team play each other, then 2 best play championship, then one of them goes to the playoffs. I need to set drawn out. I'm a visual learner. 14 teams play each other, then 2 best 2 play championship, then one of them goes to the playoffs. So you're saying like a big like conference playoff is what at least I'm reading from that. Again, it just becomes so many games. I can't sit there and be okay with letting these college athletes play more and more games. And again, that's why I don't like I don't like them trying to expand the March Madness tournament. I don't like that you're endangering their health. I mean, if you make you're already trying. NFL's already trying to add more games to the regular season for the NFL. And again, you're increasing the likelihood of those concussions. You're not doing anything to help the concussions by doing that. And again, if you increase, I mean, it's already up to what? If you go undefeated, you can play a maximum of what if you're in the first round of the playoffs. So you play SEC championship game, that's your 13th game. First round of a bowl game, it's your 14th, then the 15th, and you can play up to 16 games. That's an NFL. That's one less than the NFL. But if you start adding more and more of these, man, it's going to get ridiculous. You're going to get someone hurt. Someone is going to get hurt, and they're going to lose their career playing football because they're playing 17, 18 games a season in college. And I understand that there's a difference in them playing NFL. NFL is built to play more games, more so than college football is. In the NFL, they're not out there hit-sticking people every play. They're not trying to make a highlight play. They're not going to try to knock someone's head off. They're playing smarter. That's why they're professional. But if you have a bunch of kids that are just targeting, you don't get as many targeting calls in the NFL as you do in college football. If you get a lot of people that are just targeting every play for 17 games, dude, you're going to have more people retiring a year in college football than you are retiring in the NFL. I think less is more. Less is so much more. JMU, Bama, and Tulane should not be in. Indy and Vandy deserve a chance. I agree with Notre Dame. I don't agree too much on Vanderbilt. Wildcard game maybe. Again, I'm just not too big on them increasing games. JMU, Tulane play very good high school teams if it comes to strength of schedule. Strength of schedule again, I think is a ludicrous idea to base your is this team good or not. You can I have a great schedule, but I have 3 losses. Okay. So you weren't able to win those games. If the game is all about winning and you're not winning those games, then why are you in the playoffs? Teresa again getting rid of divisions made it hard. Has made it hard with all these hard enough with all these head-to-head games. Yeah, I mean I think divisions worked out so much better. And again, I understand sometimes you had a strong west side and a very weak east side, and it always panned out with the team in the west winning it. But the realignment you can have with it being like north or south, or you could make even like divisions. I mean, if you have, what was it? It was with the introduction of Oklahoma and Texas. You move those 2 into the west, move Auburn and Alabama into the east. And then boom, you have a pretty aligned division of the SEC. Or if you can go north and south and you kind of just separate it, and you kind of have to find a way to kind of go down a little bit, but Oklahoma will be in the north, Texas in the south, A&M in the south, Arkansas in the north, Missouri in the north, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, South Carolina probably in the north, and I think that kind of averages out everyone else in the south. But then again, that would probably make the South a lot more difficult of a division. But I think you move Alabama and Auburn to the east, and then that fixes everything. What do I know? I'm just a 25-year-old who enjoys watching college football. Based off of next year's schedule, how many games you hope that we'll win? Man, I'm just hoping we make a bowl game. I'll be happy with a Birmingham Bowl bid. Standards are through the floor. give me to a Birmingham Bowl and we good. But the next year I need 8. Or not 8, I need 7. I need gradual improvement. If you give me 6 wins in year 1, we're good. Next year though, I'm gonna need 7. And then I'll need 7 or 8. Then I'll need 9 or 10. Like it's gotta constantly go. Auburn is, again, I understand Auburn is as a school, they hold a lot of history, and rightfully so. At some point, you got to start winning. Auburn is not a hard school to win at with the right guy. If you're the right guy, you will not have a hard time winning at Auburn. You just hire 2 guys who are not the right guys. Gus Malzahn did a lot of good for Auburn. He's been the best coach we've had in the past 3 head coaching things, and it's not even remotely close. So yeah, I'm hoping for a bowl game. For Division of 4, I do agree with the pod system. But that was like something they speculated with during whenever they first came in. I like the pod system. I just it'd be interesting to see how exactly it'd probably go like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, and then Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arkansas, then Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. Would be probably how I imagine those quads go up. But again, I don't agree. I don't disagree with the quads. It would just be a playoff game. It'd just be a 4-team playoff for a conference championship. And again, it'd be so difficult to do that because you'd have 13, 14 games going into you'd play your 14th game before you can get to the playoffs. And again, it should be something that every conference is doing. So say we do the G6 playoffs, you move those, the American, the MAC, the Sun Belt, the CUSA, the Pac-12, who am I missing? Mountain West. Move those over. Those teams can only play in the G6 playoff. Now you have the P4. You have the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC. Have those teams, if you want to do a pod system, have those teams play their pods, their pod playoffs. You pick the 4 conference champions, and you make another 4-team playoff over here with the ACC champion, SEC champion, Big 10 champ, and the Big 12 champ. I think that fixes a lot of things. It brings back the relativity relative. Is that the right word? I mean, I don't care. It brings back the relevancy. There we go. The relevancy of the conference championship, and I think it doesn't add a lot more games. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, you're playing your 14th game, then you're playing 50. You'll play the same amount of games. It'd just be interesting. Again, you don't have a lot of, and again, you wouldn't be dealing with a lot of, as much greed really, because you have the 4 conference champions. You have the 4 teams you're going into your playoffs with. The only thing to be difficult about it is just the seeding. And, just kind of picking who the best team is out of that, picking. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think that fixes a lot of things. You bring back the conference champions. That matters now. You don't have all these SEC teams taking over the playoffs. There are 5 teams in this year's playoffs. Don't need that. And if you lose your pod, you don't deserve a chance in the conference championship. And if you lose the conference championship, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. So you have 4 teams that have deservingly won their championship in their conference, and they're the 4 teams playing for the Power 4 national championship. And then you have the G6 playoffs. You do the same thing. You have their playoff. They have to do their conference champions. They have their 6-team playoff where they pick the number 1 and number 2 team. They have a bye week, and then 3 and 5 play each other, 4 and 6 play each other, and then you do the playoffs that way. You have a G6 champion. You have a P4 champion. I think that evens out college football. I think it evens out the playoffs. And I think it becomes a lot easier to watch. Will they do that? Absolutely not. They will not do that. They've already moved past that. They're trying to get more money based off of more viewership, based off of more games. And they are not taking into account the player health. What I just said right there gives you 16 games at most for a team. And you can still have bowl games. You can still do bowl games. You can still do bowl games. Who cares? People watch bowl games. Still have those matter. But man, oh man, I could not imagine a 16 team playoff. It is ridiculous that is even a conversation point. Who wants that? Outside of the people who are just wanting the money from the viewership, who wants it? Who actually thinks 16 teams will give you a better view of who the best teams in the country are if it's just going to be one of the top 6 teams winning it again? Like, honestly, what exactly? Who's number? Who'd be in that? Who would be in that? Who's the first 4 out? I just had to see the first 4 out for this year's playoff: Notre Dame, BYU, Vanderbilt, and Iowa. So get Iowa in there. Who thinks Iowa is going to win the championship? No one. Vanderbilt's not going to win the championship. BYU isn't going to win it. Notre Dame isn't going to win it. Alabama's not going to win it. So you just do like I love the pod system conferences, but that makes conference championships should matter. And you can easily fix it by doing that. I just hire me as NCAA commissioner. I'll fix everything. I just can't. I hate the what's the word? The beautification or whatever it's called of college football. You know, just trying to make it a better product than making it better in general. You're making it easier to sell than you are easier to watch. You know, you're mad that these games are taking 3 hours, but God forbid you take away one of these TV timeouts. We don't need to go from PAT to commercial to kickoff to commercial. Don't need that. Take that, throw it out. College football is the best sport on this planet. Shortly followed up by college basketball. The NCAA has done nothing but damage these past few seasons with their ignorance with the portal and their greed with the playoffs. Something's got to change for the better, not only for the fans, but for the players, for the coaches, or you are going to ruin this sport and you're going to drive it into the ground. I love college football, and I hate what it's become. I hate what it is becoming. Again, I watched the 12-team playoff last year. I enjoyed my Christmas break for the first round. I didn't care. I did not care about the first round of the playoffs. When it got to 8 teams, I started watching. But the 12 teams, dude, I don't care. I don't. It was 12, 11, 10, and 9 all lost. Who cares? 8 teams. If you want to do a playoff system like what we're doing right now, shorten it. Get rid of those last 4 teams. They don't need to be in. They don't need to. 8 is fine. 8 is perfect. You go to 16, you're saturating the sport. Saturating it to the point where it's not enjoyable to watch anymore. And don't touch March Madness. March Madness is perfect. Yeah, I have so many opinions about college football. I love watching it, and I hate what it's becoming. So it's been an hour and a half. We're gonna go and get out of here. I enjoy the conversations. I enjoyed ranting. It's a great time to come rant every Sunday evening about what's going on. Football season. Auburn football is officially over season wise. recruiting still going on. Playoffs coming up. Whether or not they're going to be enjoyable to watch is determinable. But I mean, dude, portal season is going to be crazy. We're going to get ready for that. Pray that Auburn gets to retain the top talent they have on their roster. And again, once that gets announced, we'll be talking about it every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, right here on the College League Podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Of course, follow us on all social media platforms as well: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. The works of the College Loop, and of course, follow me as well at Dylan Larck on Instagram, at your boy the Tank on Twitter. I give my opinions a lot on sports, so follow me there. But of course, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're getting so very close to 2,000 subscribers. We are 970 away. That's so close. If you want to talk about Hugh Freeze, we're so close to 2,000 subscribers. But we're on the path to get there. I think every single one of y'all who've already subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who has liked. Thank you to everyone who has commented on the video. Love the conversations we have. Again, college football's got to be changed. It's got to be fixed. It's the people who love college football love college football. The people who run college football don't love college football. So talk about this all throughout the offseason, talking about what Alex Golesh can do to win 6 games, to win the big games again, and to bring this offense back to where it needs to be next season. And we talk about all that throughout the offseason. Of course, also talking about basketball on the way. Of course, losing a very tough one to Arizona. But of course, the season is just starting. SEC conference play just around the corner as well. So get started on we'll be talking all about that later on. But that being said, thanks for tuning in to Summit College Podcast yet again. And as always, War Eagle.